Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Forex Market Preview. I am Jason Stapleton. I'm the guy who's going to show you what we're looking at for next week in the currency markets. And this week, just a terrible week of trading for me. We had one good trade, the New Zealand trade, that fell off like a cliff on Monday morning, and the rest of it was just pure junk all week long. I'm going to show you a little bit about what I tried to do this week and what I failed at, but pretty much I could have faded my own trades this week and done really well. And that goes to the point that I will just make, that not every week is your week. And sometimes you're going to have weeks and weeks where it's not your week. And when those things start to happen, the best thing that you can do is start dialing back your position size, make sure you're following your plan, but ultimately just keep your powder dry and try and limit the amount of downside that you're exposed to until things begin to work in your favor again. There's no easy way to deal with a drawdown. You just have to buck up and recognize that drawdowns are part of trading. And unfortunately, this week was more than, it was just a terrible week. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So anyway, for those of you who are in the syndicate, no doubt, Keel had a couple of decent trades go off in the syndicate this week. I closed out a pound position for about 220 pips this week, and I'm going to show you what a bad decision that was here in just a minute. But ultimately, it's one of those things. It was just a bad week, and I would love to be able to come back and say something different and talk about all the great progress I had this week, but I just didn't have it. So let's talk about this week and what hopefully will be a much better week for us as we go through this week. So let me figure out, there we go, what button I hit in order to switch this stuff. Let's start off with the pound. Now, I told you that I closed it out for about 220 pips of profit. That was excellent. I closed it out somewhere. The problem is I closed it out somewhere around here on the short side. And then you can see what's happened since then. We've just broken structure all the way to the downside, and now we are looking at some continuation trend down to around the 127 extension. And so this is what I would do, and what I'm going to be doing this week is I'm going to cross my fingers for a little rally back up into around 61s, almost 61s at the previous structure level. It's funny, I don't normally talk about the other market. Dadgummit, what is going on here? Hang on a minute. Let's just do this. That'll work. I don't normally talk about, there we go. I don't normally talk about the equities market in the Forex Market Preview, but I'm looking at what's happening in the equities market in the slide we saw in U.S. equities. The reason that we're seeing the rally out of the dollar this week is because there was very good news in the U.S., and right now it's the only place in the entire industrialized world where we're seeing really good news come out. We've had all kinds of problems in Great Britain. The Eurozone's wrecked. As if you guys will remember back, as I said it would be, but I'm not going to turn that screw right now. But I told everybody a couple of years ago that the Eurozone was in far worse shape than America. I think I've been saying it forever, but I started saying it a couple of years ago, and that the Eurozone was going to be the real problem. And nobody believed me, and they brought up all these excuses as to why the U.S. was in such bad shape, and they pointed out all this stuff. Well, we can look at it now and say, as a whole, the U.S. isn't doing great, but compared to the Eurozone, we're doing all right, and that's reflected in the currency. So one of the things that I saw was on the SPX, on the Dow, that we saw a rally yesterday, but in my opinion, it's probably going to be a selling rally. I think we're due for some more continued downside. If that's the case, then we may be due for a little bit of a rally here out of the pound before we see some continued decline. So what I'm hoping for is a rally back up in here to around 6090s or 6100s roughly. If I drop down to my 60-minute chart and we just look at the intraday on this and what's happened. Oh, that's not right. Let me see. Pound dollar, 60-minute. Let's try that. You're going to see the actual structure for before the fall off was around here, around 61.14s. So a rally back up into roughly 61s here, not out of the realm of possibility. You can see the structure level back here, and the most recent structure being somewhere around 60, 60s, maybe 61s, somewhere in there. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna look for, let's just call it 60-70. Just drop the line in there. For a rally, a pop into 60-70 for some continued shorting. And where do we think that thing's going to go? Let's just take a look at the downside here. That 127 extension coming in. Look left, guys. Structure leaves clues. Look at that structure inside resistance level there. You got a test there and another test there. That 127 at 157.40s going to be a pretty decent level to look for. So, use it as your higher time frame as your general direction. Then start looking for your underlying on the on your trading time frames. That could be the 4-hour, it could be the 60-minute, could be the could be whatever time frame you want it to be. But typically we deal with swing trading here. The euro defying all laws of just frustrating me is all it is. It's broken through support here. We're now out here in no man's land. Massive move south that I got caught in as the market reversed itself. On the 60-minute chart, if I bring this thing down, you're going to notice we had a pretty nice little shelf in here. I actually waited for the market. I bought the market up in the hopes that we would see a rally here. We got nothing, and then boom, the market rolled over and just crushed me as we moved into after the news event. So I took a hit there. Japanese yen, let's bring this out on the daily chart. If you guys will remember back for a couple of weeks ago when we got around this level, I said, it looks like we may be entering a zone. I think if I even go out to the weekly chart, I can probably ID it for you again. We may be in a zone here where the market finds a little bit of resistance. And I went ahead and threw in some Fibonacci retracement and extension levels in here to kind of ID where I thought that was going to occur, and gave you a range, and we're right in that range now. Basically, a high coming in here, and the lows coming in somewhere around here, I think was where we had it, how I had it bracketed out. Now, weekly chart, we're overbought. We're sitting at 90. And this is the case across the board. If we go back to the euro, you'd see the weekly chart. Let me just show you the euro on the weekly chart. Euro on the weekly chart sitting at just underneath 20. So we're falling. I get out on, I'm sorry, let's go to the weekly chart. Excuse me. Weekly chart is just abysmal. Weekly chart is at 5. The RSI is at 5 on the weekly chart. This thing is begging for a rally. And I've tried it. We made some money on the downside. I've tried now twice to pick it up on the upside and been hammered. But guys, this thing is just falling off a cliff, and it's rare to see something like this. We can go all the way back. I don't even have anything on this chart. This thing goes back to 2006. We don't have an RSI that low on the weekly chart. It's incredible the depths of destruction that the euro is creating for itself. But back onto the Japanese yen on the daily chart, we saw the market come into that. We saw the break of structure back down into support, and then, of course, Friday's news event sending us back up against the previous structure highs. And so, again, any break below structure here, if I just go ahead and draw this in, it's going to be a decent area to look to get short. So wait for the market to break structure. If not, your buying opportunity was really back here. But when things are in this sort of condition, this sort of vertical movement, I'm really looking for either a pattern formation, like a pendant or something to let me know that the market is getting ready to rally here, or I'm looking for an area to go counter trend with it. And that would be a break of structure. So we'll keep an eye out on that as we move into next week. Now let's jump over and take a look at the pound yen. Pound yen had a massive and a really nice move down here, and the way we closed on Friday gives me an indication that we're going to see continued downside momentum here. Where could we see it go to? 73.26s? Absolutely. It's a pretty decent area to look for that level, because that's the next previous structure level. The market already tested that once right here and rejected it with a move higher, so a move down into that zone is definitely a possibility. Now, if you want a quicker trade, you can drop down to the 60-minute chart here, and we can go down and look at the pattern formation that is getting ready to set up here, or that has already set up. And I can go X to A to B, B to C, and the C to D is going to complete somewhere around structure level at around the 886 retracement. This is a bat pattern. Okay? So looking at it there at around the 886 at structure is going to be a buying opportunity. Now again, guys, this is if the overlying trend is down, right? Or not, actually the underlying trend is not really down. If we go out to the daily chart, the underlying trend is still very much up. We're back down into this structure level here where the market is playing around with, and we're looking at some continued move downside. But this market is still bullish. So although you may see a press lower because of the way the Friday's candle closed, the overall market's still looking bullish. So if you're wanting to try and take that bullish move ahead of the continued downside that may exist, you can do so using that advanced pattern formation that we see right there. And these, again, about 60-70% of the time, this is going to be a winner for you. So for at least a short term, it doesn't mean a total reversal here, but it does mean that we're going to see some consolidation in here, highly likely. And so don't bet the farm on these things with a 60% probability. You do not want to bet your whole horse on this pattern playing itself out. But with a probability like that, and the risk reward, what it ends up being, about 1.5 to 1 at 60%, it ends up being a really, really nice trade every single time it will present itself. So just keep that in mind as you're making your trading decisions. All right. So we talked about the euro today defying all gravity. We talked about the pound yen and its move down and the likely move lower there. We talked about the Japanese yen and how we are starting to see some of that, breaking in the market there that I thought I was going to see up around that level. And then we also talked about the pound dollar and the 127 extension there. So several things for you guys to watch this week. And of course, I'll be in the syndicate every single day working with those guys. The live show starts back up next week. Now, if you're not, the live show is something totally different from currency trading and totally different from trading really, period. What the live show is about is it's really a current event show that's held live every single day. It's absolutely free. And we talk about current events, what's going on, and we try and tie it back to how am I going to make money with this? Like with my investments, with any trades that might go on, be it an options play, be it an investment play, be it investing in an ETF. How do I want to play this? So as we come into that, the new show starts tomorrow on Monday. And you can go to theliveshow.tv to watch those shows live. And it's going to be very, very exciting. Now, what was I going to say? If you keep in mind, though, this is a fun show that has absolutely nothing to do directly with trading or Trade Empowered specifically. It's just something that I want to do because I have an interest in talking about what's going on in the world and really tying it back to, okay, how do I position myself to if the world is burning, how do I make sure I'm on top of the ashes? And if the world is going straight north and we're seeing nothing but improvement and nothing but positive outlook, then how do I capitalize on that and make the most amount of money possible with it? In most cases, we're going to be somewhere in between where there's a lot of hype about one or the other, but the reality of the situation is really quite different. And that's what we kind of want to focus on. So we're going to be talking about jobs. We're going to be talking about changes in the economy. We're going to be talking about the political decisions that are being made around the world, like the ECB, like what's happening at the Federal Reserve. We're going to be talking about all of those actions and how they affect your life and your money. Now, I do not want it to be it's not a political show, like it's not a partisan political show. I don't want you guys to think of it like that, because although I do have a very specific view about the way the world ought to work, and I'll be sharing that with you and my belief systems about how the best economies and what makes them strong and what's going to happen in economies based on the decisions that are being made both by companies and governments. It's not designed to try and sway you one way or the other in a political fashion. All I'm trying to do is help people better understand what's going on around them and how to profit from it. And most importantly is to have a good time. So we're going to have some, just some off-the-wall funny stuff. We'll be talking a little bit about sports, just whatever interests me, and the most important things of the day. So I hope that you'll at least check it out. It's liveshow.tv, and it starts tomorrow, 8:15 Central to 9:15 Central. We'll be running the show, and it'll be our first one, and I'd love to have you guys out for it. So make sure you stick around, or make sure you show up for that. And until then, good luck and good trading. I will talk to you next week.